And we are filming. Welcome everybody to Anarbor and Friends. I'm Anarbor, this is Luke, a friend of mine, and we are going to talk about important things nowadays.
Yeah, so this is quite different because normally we would have Tyler and Vex in here, but since Vex is still on the road and Tyler is busy, it is just us today talking about a very simple topic. Is it hard to get into Yu-Gi-Oh in general, whether it's casual or competitive? Especially in this day and age where we have the likes of Master Duel and Dueling Book and Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro still active.
Yeah, and this is already where I want to say the first thing. I think we should also include the print version of Yu-Gi-Oh! So the real TCG in real
and
life.
the real TCG.
Because I think whatever you choose will have is drastically different of how easy or how hard it will be.
Oh, definitely, yeah, for sure. But this all stems from the recent video the Axeman did of Yu-Gi-Oh!
Isn't it like almost a year old now?
Actually, I don't think it is a year old. Let me go and actually look at the history, like my history, and find out exactly where it when it came out.
And I just made myself a cup of G Fuel, the first time in my life.
But yeah, so it does stem from his video, and I had a few points on it, and I wanted to talk about it, but also talk about how we also got into our basic history of Yu-Gi-Oh! And what where we are with it today, and how we would actually introduce someone into it.
Correct.
So yeah, the Axeman's Yu-Gi-Oh! Video, it came out. Can't pay attention. Not half a year ago, so 6 months ago.
Fucking long ass time.
It's not. It's not a long ass time.
If
you really think about it. But yeah. So it came out half a year ago, and I do have my points to say on it. I've wanted to do this for a while, but it's been on the back burner. But now we're here doing it. So I guess the first thing that I want to talk about really is one of his first comments because he says Yu-Gi-Oh is a once in a million franchise, and to that I scratch my head completely because really at the time when Yu-Gi-Oh was really, I mean it's still popular, but when it was really popular, Beyblade and Digimon and Pokemon were just as popular as it.
And yes, but also we need to look how many trading card games were coming out at that time and how many managed to stick by. Looking at that, Yu-Gi-Oh is one in a million card game.
I guess so, but as well, it's not really it's not a special case. It's not like a once like, oh, this card game outlasted every other card game, because Magic the Gathering is still popular even today. I mean, there's also videos on YouTube about Magic the Gathering players trying to play Yu-Gi-Oh, and vice versa, Yu-Gi-Oh players trying to play Magic the Gathering. I mean, I've always been kind of fascinated with Magic the Gathering, but it just doesn't seem like my type of game. I mean, I might have to like really sit down and look at the rules on that, but Yu-Gi-Oh was always the one that really like struck a chord with me, and I think it was because I was basically there. Like I am the old school, I guess to quote Pokemon terms, Generation 1 style Yu-Gi-Oh player.
I think
So,
a big thing why also Yu-Gi-Oh in general was a lot really popular in the past. Old school Yu-Gi-Oh was way simpler than Magic the Gathering, as it didn't have any resources. Yu-Gi-Oh's were only card game. Looking at Magic or Digimon or Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh doesn't have any resources you have to manage, unlike those two.
Yeah. Because it just basically comes down to you have your cards and you have your life points, and that is it. That was like how it was back in the old school days. And Yu-Gi-Oh also came out like the right time, because it seemed to be seem to be coming off the heels of the Pokemon craze that was going on, and it's just like, here's something different, unique for you. And it did the exact same marketing strategy as Pokemon. It hit us all at once. So it hit us with the manga, then the TV series, and then the card game. Bang, 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 back to back. Like literally, first booster sets that came out were Yugi and Kaiba, weren't they?
Yeah, that were the first structure decks.
The first structure decks, yeah, that's what I meant.
Came 2 or 3 weeks after Legend of the Blue Eyes, the first the first card pack.
Yeah, and I know everyone who saw the either the Blue Eyes White Dragon or Dark Magician, they wanted them. They really wanted the Blue Eyes White Dragon. To the point that people were stealing cards. That we had real life Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters mercenaries.
Yes, I may have stolen a few cards back on my playground.
I know. I had, like, I remember when I was in high school. I remember my cards getting stolen. I had a complete mental breakdown because of it.
I didn't have a complete mental breakdown, but well, because I stole those cards.
Yeah, it was you. It was
I stole your cards, Luke.
I have found my thief. But also as well because I might as well just tell. I think I've told this story before of how I really started to get into Yu-Gi-Oh! But I remember. I'll give a brief refresher. I remember this old it was kind of like Toonami and Toonami style thing called Up on the Roof, which was like which was really popular back in the day. And I even contacted the host of that show recently on Facebook to say, hey, I was a massive fan of you, blah blah blah, and he was like, oh, that's nice to know. Thanks for giving me something positive for today. So that was nice. But yeah, I remember distinctly the advert. I can recreate the advert word for word. It starts off with Yugi telling the Wind Dragon Guardian Fortress, fireball attack! It's time to duel 1 action-packed series, 5 episodes back to back, the Up on the Roof special edition Yu-Gi-Oh! Only 5 days to go, 4 days to go, 3 days to go. That advert is mentally planted in my brain to this day.
Okay, I don't remember such ads, but I was born after Yu-Gi-Oh! Was released, so that may be.
And can you continue on while I take this phone call quickly?
No problem. So yeah, the past Yu-Gi-Oh! Was different. Before it was entered, and like my partner here said, it started with everything already. And I think a big thing that Yu-Gi-Oh! Did in the past that most shows, that was rather surprising that it even worked, was with the anime. And that it didn't even follow its own rule set.
Yeah.
And whoever thought of that, fuck you.
Oh, come on. The first season of Yu-Gi-Oh! Is just fun to make fun of, to the point that even now they're having cards that represent like the stupidity of the Duelist Kingdom anime arc. Like, destroy the moon.
I think I'm one of the like younger people in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Community. I first learned to play the real game, then learned how to play then watched the anime.
Yeah, fair enough.
So for me, it was really confusing that I really dislike Duelist Kingdom for that.
Fair enough. Yeah, Duelist Kingdom rules are just like complete out of there. But it did give us an idea of like what field cards would be like moving forward, because it did seem like it was just because the Duelist Kingdom like style of monster fields were basically like just having a permanent field spell activated.
Yeah. And on the topic on field spells, well, all field spells, all the shit, it was really just like I buff one thing and maybe debuff a different thing. In comparison to today, where like one field spell does kinda everything.
Yeah. So So I guess my other point for the Atman video is that when he goes, what happened to it? It evolved just like every other game evolves in life. It starts off very basic, and if it lasts a long time, it evolves to keep things fresh. Because if it's just the same, like people who complain about like modern Yu-Gi-Oh today being too complicated, I will admit it can get a bit complicated at times, but at the same time, do people really want to go back to I summon Beaver Warrior in attack mode, then I place one face down card and end my turn?
I mean, if you ask, do people really want to go back to? We just need to look at Gold format and how popular that format became.
Yeah, and that's what I would say. Like, is it hard to get into Yu-Gi-Oh? Not really in my eyes, because you can actually, if you find someone like, hey, I want to learn this game, how do I play? It's like, okay, if we go into the GOAT format on this server, I can teach you the game, and then if it feel like it's your kind of game, there are other.
The problem with that, Luke, is we have to directly interject. GOAT format doesn't teach you the real rules. That was Master Rule 1. We have now this Master Rule 5. There are a lot of different rules that God doesn't teach you, or teaches you wrong even.
And that's what I would bring up. I would bring up, like, hey, there are different rules. Like, these are just like stripping down the bare basic rules. If you really want to get into the game, it will take a lot of learning, but once you do learn it, it can be a lot of fun. And that's part of what I love most about Yu-Gi-Oh over the years, is that the fact that it has evolved, it has developed, it has changed, and it's kept things fresh, and it's given a lot of challenge. It is a challenging game at times, but that's part of the charm of it. It's always going to be a challenge, but it's also going to be fun. And I hate when people are like that. Like, this is too challenging for me, too complicated, I don't want to play it. Like, that's the whole point about games, to challenge your brain, to work in that. You don't just sit back in.
That's a bigger thing you are mentioning right now. Like, what are games made for? I agree. I like games to be challenging. That's why I really like Yu-Gi-Oh to go back to.
That's why I like chess as well.
For a lot of people, gaming is to relax, to lay back. That's why games like Animal Crossing is so fun. And to like say that everyone plays games just to be like challenged is just simply wrong.
Fair enough. And I do like those simple games where you can just sit back. Like Roller Coaster Tycoon, that's one of my just chill out, relax, just have a good time type games. But
Roller Coaster Tycoon is a terrible game that turned me into a min-maxer.
Screw you!
Tycoon made me to the person I am today, who wants always to be the best.
Screw you. Anyway, you know who would like that type of game? An anime character who would like an anime character who would like that type of game. Senku, because it's all about building and crafting.
Yeah, because this guy. But we are not here to talk about.
I know.
In general, or Senku, what games you would like.
Yeah. So I would say that it all depends on the person as well. Like, if you know someone who's like really into gaming and really likes a good challenge, I'd say start with the GOAT format to get them kind of like, okay, these are the basic rules, and then we can sort of like build up to where they feel like they're most comfortable with the game. That's what I would say in terms of trying to get someone into Yu-Gi-Oh. But at the same time, there are things in this video that I'm like just head scratching at times. Like, I know you. Okay, I will stop doing the pot of greed jokes, but people really need to stop harping on the Yu-Gi-Oh 5D jokes. Yes, they're on motorcycles, but that's not even the dumbest thing that's ever happened in this franchise. Dark energy discs.
That was a censored version that I'm not going to defend, because in Germany we had real saws.
Yeah. You think card games on motorcycles is stupid? Try having dark energy discs. That's what I had to put with. And also, you can't base an entire archetype. You can't base your opinion on an entire archetype just because of some stupid 4Kids dialogue. Like in the video where he tries to like say, all Crystal Beasts are bad because of Amber Mara's infamous like I'm gonna be an Arnold Schwarzenegger impersonist. So yeah,
agree with you. Especially the Crystal Beast thing is so dumb in my head.
Crystal Beast, I will say, is one of my top 5 archetypes.
I agree. I really like Crystal Beast. Like the aesthetic of that archetype. Not as much as how it plays, but the aesthetic is great.
Yeah, and also as well, like what I also do love about Yu-Gi-Oh, but also here as well, is when they introduce new support for older archetypes to kind of like get older players back into the game. Like, hey, you like Pegasus deck? Here's a new version of the Relinquish deck. And now, actually, having played the Relinquish deck on Master Duel, I actually really like it. I feel like it's a really fun deck to actually use, and just see people try to use the effects and just be like, nope, Relinquished is gonna steal that card from you. So that's what I've always loved about Yu-Gi-Oh as well, is that it's not deteriorated mostly from its past, but again, it needs to stop at times. Do we need more elemental hero support?
Do we need more Blue Eyes support?
I will admit, much as I love the Blue Eyes deck, I feel like it needs to stop.
I think a big this whole all decks get support is another big topic that we could discuss for like an hour or so. I think it's a great thing to get new people to come and join the game, to entice them to say, look at us, if you come, your old deck gets new cards, come back to us. I think it's really good to get newer people to the game. I hate it. I think they ruin so many decks with that. And don't support this. This jokes on the side. But as you... I forgot your main topic already.
The main topic was that I both love and hate the fact that they that they take the time to be like, okay, we want to get more people back into, like, let's look at this archetype. Okay, has it had some support for a while? No, we'll give it some new support.
Thank you for repeating it. Yeah, I think it's a great idea. If it's a moderation, just as you said, I don't think it's a good way to just say, oh, we give heroes every support, Blue Eyes every support, Dark Magician every support. I think that's a bad way, especially since there's so many different characters we got in the anime, like over all of the seasons, who are not getting the support they deserve.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to see some more support. I don't know, has Cyber Dragon had some support recently?
Cyber Dragon got support during the Lynx era, during Reigns.
Okay.
They got like 2 or 3 cards.
Okay.
So I'm not saying anything about Cyber Dragon.
I feel like the one that's been the biggest long overdue one is the Ishizu cards. Much as I have issues with the Ishizu cards, but in all honesty, it has been long overdue for Ishizu to have some love and support.
I agree. I really enjoy the Ishizu cards. I think they are a great concept how they were designed, and breed interactivity. But I can see why they're so broken and many people dislike them, especially paired with cards like the tier element monsters that the people are seeing on screen right now.
Yeah, and also as well, and what I'd really, I feel like what's one like actually Raphael from the you're talking about Philolug. No, I feel like his Guardian cards, I feel like we should get a couple more supports for them, because I really thought that was an interesting deck that he played, the only deck that actually beat Yugi in the anime.
I agree. I think Raphael deserves more cards. I like this. In general, the filler arc was the best thing in the Duel Monsters series.
it's ironic that that we're saying that because back in the day, people
liked it. I still see
hated it.
videos about people saying that it's the worst season. I, in comparison, think it was the best season.
Well, it gave us the best season of Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged.
That's true. But to go back to the TCG, not the anime.
Yeah, and also to go back to the Animan's not Animan, Atman's video. One other point I want to talk about is the iconic cards. So I have 10 cards here that I would say are pretty much pretty good iconic cards. Like for my personal experience with Yu-Gi-Oh. So do you want to hear them?
Yes, I also have, by the way, 10 cards. But
Alright.
unlike you, my cards are most iconic in the competitive scene. As I think this is something we have to say out loud. I am way more in the competitive scene than I was ever like to the shows or anything. Unlike Luke, who has a deep connection to the series itself.
Yeah, I would say that is most accurate. I mean, I've delved in competitive every now and again, but most of my experience with Yu-Gi-Oh does come from the card game of playing it, but I'm not like these world champion playing frogs and then they automatically get banned type people.
Yeah, and as I said beforehand, I started with the card game and then started the series. So for me, the TCG itself is the more important one.
Yeah.
So my iconic cards are like more like relevant in how they morph the TCG and if they change how we play the game.
Yeah. So my 10 iconic cards are Dark Magician, Blue Eyes, Red Eyes. They're pretty standard iconic cards. Monster Reborn, Mirror Force, Stardust Dragon. I've got to have my favorite card in there. Yubel, considering it's the only Dual Monsters card that's also an antagonist in the series. Dark Hole, the God cards, and Five-Headed Dragon. Like, when you're thinking of real high-powered beat stick monsters, usually Five-Headed Dragon comes to mind for me.
Interesting. Because
yes.
And
also as well, the god cards, like they're the god cards. They're like the ones that were basically the entire point of the Battle City arc.
I think this is like a list that just shows like how much influence the anime, the series, and all the series in general can have on the person. Because those are all cards I don't have.
Alright, I'm interested to see what yours are.
In no specific order. To everything I will just add a sentence or something like that. The first one is the Blackluster Soldier. In the beginning.
Oh yes, yes.
Like
see, I was debating that card because that card when I first saw that in the anime, that truly scared me. Of just like, how the hell was this card not outlawed, but Chaos Emperor Dragon was in the anime.
That's the Black Desert Soldier is like the first real boss monster Yu-Gi-Oh had that almost every deck played. I know a big complaint nowadays about Yu-Gi-Oh, for example, is every deck plays the same 10 cards. Yeah, but in the past it was not different. And in the past almost every deck tried to summon the Blackluster Soldier in the beginning.
And every deck in the OG series wanted either Exodia or the Blue Eyes White Dragon.
Yeah, so many people, even in the past, nowadays, I think there's a way bigger difference in decks than in the past. And the Blackluster Soldier in the beginning is just like the first boss monster everyone wanted to play. So I have him here. The second card I want to mention is Cyber Dragon.
I knew that was coming because you've made it no secret that you adore the Cyber Dragon archetype.
Correct, the Cyber Dragon is my favorite monster in Yu-Gi-Oh! And I think a big reason for it bought is how it changed the game itself. Cyberdragon itself changed the game.
Oh yeah, for sure.
The era pre-Cyberdragon is called Goat format. And we literally say for a reason that old school and old school is different just because Cyberdragon exists.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it's so iconic, because it's like really changed how we play the game.
That is fair, and also it's like the biggest mind screw for people for some of the characters in GX, because up until that point everyone was just playing like real goat vanilla monsters except for the main big bads, and then Zane comes along with his like real Cyber Dragon deck, and you're like, oh my god, this guy is so good. And it's like, yeah, because he's using an actual competitive deck.
Yeah, he was the first one who used a real deck, and he literally beat everyone with it. That's what I find so interesting about his deck. And in general about Cyberdragon. It was like the first showcase even in the anime. How a competitive deck can just rip everyone apart. The third card I wanted to mention is Super Polymerization.
The only card where that makes two characters fuse together permanently.
I think Super Polymerization is just a card that I always remembered when I watched GX. The only series I watched from start to finish is GX, by the way.
Okay.
No, Arc V. I watched Arc V. And it was like the highlight. Super Polymerization, the strongest card, and I really, really liked Super Polymerization. But even in the past, it was like, here's a super broken card, and it only got stronger over time to nowadays where it's like one of the best cards ever printed.
I know, right?
And I think Super Polymerization is like one of the best cards to like show old school Yu-Gi-Oh design gone wrong, where it's just a card that never got weaker, but always got stronger and stronger over time. To now where people want it to be banned.
Yeah, I don't blame it, because it's like it's one of the hardest cards to counter, isn't it?
It has the last line of a card is, your opponent cannot, neither player can activate an effect in response to Super Polymerization. You can't counter the effects itself. You need to counter the monster after it was summoned, and you need to have luck that your opponent doesn't use two of your monsters for it.
Yeah.
That's the worst part, is you can just use two of your opponent's monsters to fusion some of it, and not just one of yours and one of his. So I used Super Polymerization. You could also use Painful Choice or any OG broken as well to just show how cards evolve over time and only get stronger. The next card I have is Dark Armed Dragon, the card that led to the very first Tier 0 deck.
Yes, I remember playing Dark Armed Dragon myself, and just that whole format of Dark Armed Dragon when it first came out, along with Dark Strike Fighter. You remember Dark Strike Fighter?
I remember it, but
Dark Strike Fighter how it just completely dominated everything to the point that they had to be banned.
Yeah, that Dark Armed Dragon led to the first T0 format, and it's not something Yu-Gi-Oh really recovered from since even today not. I mean, even still, whenever there's a T0 format, everyone is complaining. This was like the first time to represent it.
Yeah, it's the age-old statement. Cows go moo, sheep go bar. Yu-Gi-Oh players go. The T0's back. We need to ban these cards.
The next one I have, I tried to get the chronological order for all of them. How they released. And the next one I have is Max C.
That, I feel like, is one of the more recent iconic cards. Because
Max C came out in the 5Ds era.
The 5Ds era?
Yes.
Okay, but it seems to be more so today that people are really starting to use it.
No, it's just banned for like 5 to 8 years with TCG.
Oh, okay. Oh, right. That's why I'm just like...
It's in Master Duel legal at 3 because it's for OCG.
Okay.
That's a whole different thing, debacle we are going will be going afterwards, for her OCG TCG debacle. But Maxi, I think, is like really was like the first wave to like stop to make the game slow down, but it did achieve the exact opposite and made it just go 10 times faster. And I find it hilarious. And it's like the most diverse card in existence of Yu-Gi-Oh! Either you love it or you hate it. There's no in between with this card.
Yeah.
The next card I have on this list in chronological order would be the first good hand trap in Ash Blossom, and how it changed how we see traps.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Anyone who plays like Master Duel today, you know the pressure of just being like, is your opponent gonna play Ash Blossom? Is your opponent gonna play Ash Blossom?
I find it hilarious because in the TCG we stopped playing Ash Blossom. For the elements Ishizo and Runic and like Sprite, people stopped playing Ash Blossom because it was just bad. 1-for-1 is not good enough anymore, but it was for a really long ass time. Ash Blossom was released in the last Pendulum set, and is still being seen, and people still play to this day. And I just find it interesting how it really changed how we see hand traps, or in general traps in the future.
Yeah. Especially when, because isn't Ash Blossom limited in the TCG?
No, it's at 3.
Oh, okay.
Because it would be fucking terrible if it's at 1. In general, it's a really fair card, we have to say, especially since Yu-Gi-Oh! Always got faster, and the turn 1.
Yeah.
The first player could just set 10 negates, you can't interact with it anymore. And Ash Blossom is a needed card.
Yeah, and people who are scared of it, you just have to remember, have Call by the Grave on the field.
Just drop out.
Yeah.
The next one I have, I know it comes with 2 link monsters that I have here. The first one, you could literally replace it with a lot of other cards, but I like it to represent it the most. Firewall Dragon.
Oh my god. Yeah.
I don't know if you played competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! When Links first came out.
I did not play competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! When Links first...
Folks, when I quickly explain it, why Firewall Dragon is on this list.
Yeah.
Firewall Dragon allows everything. It allows an infinity loop, so you can summon infinite monsters on your turn. Because you can just summon him, send to the graveyard for another Firewall Dragon, resurrect the old one, send the newer one to the graveyard, use the old one to summon new monsters, resurrect the old one, the other one. You could literally, summon infinite monsters with them.
Yeah, and also, not to mention with Cannon Soldier. Dark Grepher, Cannon Soldier, Snow, just get the entire loop on, and it's like, and people are like, I didn't even get a chance to play.
Yes, and Firewall Dragon really incinerated that.
Yeah, I have Firewall Dragon as well.
Yeah, most people have him. He was a great card. Everyone wanted him. The next card I have is Access Code Talker.
Oh, this card, my arch enemy.
I think Access Code Talker is a card that really defines Yu-Gi-Oh! By a lot. Not because it allows, it makes going second fair in comparison to going first.
I know, but like, it's still my arch enemy.
Yes, it's no a card. It's the new Blackluster Soul Giant way of the beginning. If you think about it, it makes going second fair. It lets you interact with your opponent, and attack the opponent for game and other shit. I think it's a great card and makes it alright to go second, not only go first. And I think with all cards like it, we would have a real big problem in Yu-Gi-Oh! In general. And the last one I have is Albas. The Fawn of Albas. With him I only have for a specific reason. We stopped having cards our booster packs going along with our anime. As after Brains, we got the 7th anime.
Yeah, and the seventh anime has like got a completely different format.
Yes, they play Rush Duel and not the TCG like we did in the past. And that's why I have Albas in here, because we know rather than going along with the anime, we are now going along with the Albas storyline, and it's like a new way how we go to packs and the like lore in the packs themselves. And that's why I have Albas for that representation in here.
Okay, all right. So we've got so for our iconic cards, we've got basically cards that if you've watched if you've done both watched the anime and played the card game, you've got cards there that are very recognizable cards.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's not anything obscure for our list. So I feel like that's a nice fair balance that we got there. But also as well, like I said before, when the Atman was going on about like Yugioh wasn't rocket science back in the day, it's rocket science now, and I'm like, yeah, it wasn't rocket science back in the day, and it was boring considering like anyone who's gone back and watched our first progression series video. That was one of the most painstaking ones to get through.
Yes! Old school Yu-Gi-Oh was shit. It's a thing that most people forget. It was boring as hell and no one enjoyed it no one enjoyed it. I think a big argument people always use why old school Yu-Gi-Oh was so much better than nowadays is I think people have just a lot of nostalgia with sitting with friends on the stairs, in the school ground.
Or chilling out with the crew in the schoolyard.
Yes, and I think a lot of people just think, oh, old school Yu-Gi-Oh should have been like this, but even that never existed. Looking back, if you would go to a locals even at that time and go to a tournament, you would get Yatalu, you would get FDK with Turtle. This old school Yu-Gi-Oh most people want never existed in the first place.
I'm saying this to anyone who says Yu-Gi-Oh was so much better back in the day. Go and play a GOAT format from the original Yu-Gi-Oh today with the original rules and see how much fun you're having.
By the way, to everyone who's watching the background, I'm so sorry for playing terrible.
Yeah, well, and we can't comment. I can't comment on Anarbor being terrible because I've made mistakes in the progression series myself, which I'm annoyed that I didn't get Sapphire Pegasus in my polls.
But yeah, but going to the how Yu-Gi-Oh evolved and everything, a big thing people always complain about from casuals, I know, are like a few things that I've written down that I wanted to talk about or at least mention, are like things like archetypes. That archetypes take creativity away from the game itself.
No, it doesn't. That's the archetypes are one of the most fun things about Yu-Gi-Oh.
This is something that I agree with you, but I often hear that, oh, you are playing an archetype, you play a finished deck made by Konami for you, without having any influence, without having any ideas of yourself in it.
To that I say, who does that? Because if you did that, again, I say that to anyone. Like, if people were like the characters in the anime of like, I'm gonna build a deck that's unique to me and only me, and not have any influence by other people, you are gonna get absolutely curb stomped.
Yeah, I think I really like archetypes. Archetypes in general just allow the game to be stronger and be faster. You can make stronger effects, but have like restrictions on it, just so you can only use those archetype cards, for example. And I think it really helps the game to be fresh, or to like differentiate. Like, we can have like two different warrior decks with different archetypes, and they play completely different.
Yeah, like I will say, like, what are your top 3 archetypes aside from Cyber Dragon?
The elements? No brainer. The whole branded archetype, if you can take it as one. And I would say the third one would be Sprite. So 3 rather modern ones.
Okay. I will say that my 3 favorite archetypes, like Modern Relinquished, would be one. Like Discount Blue Eyes, and Crystal Beast. So Modern Relinquished, Six Samurai, and Cyber Dragon. Like I do generally love the Cyber Dragon archetype as well.
It's a great fucking archetype. It's fun to play. It's not as like domineering as like, for example, Teal Limits is. So your opponent is not is allowed to play the game with you.
Yeah, and I do like the Infinity archetype as well. I loved that concept of just having the handless combo.
I have never played Infinity, I'm being totally honest.
That to me, that was when I went to my locals back at university. That was the archetype that won me 2 locals in a row.
Back in university, Infinity's for like end of 5Ds.
Yeah.
I was like in 7th grade.
Well, my university years started at the end of like the Dark Signers arc of Yu-Gi-Oh 5Ds.
That's
and
interesting.
went right through to the beginning of Sexil, whatever you want to call it.
I think 5D started. I was in 3rd grade.
Wow.
Just as a comparison.
Yeah, because 5D started in 2008.
Yes, it was 2nd grade. Sorry, it started when I was in 2nd grade.
Yeah, so, and I started university in September 2009. So yeah, it would have been like just right after the Dark Signers arc.
Luke, you are old.
I know. Again, I will tell you this. I am the G1 Yu-Gi-Oh player, but I would not want it to go back to G1 GOAT format Yu-Gi-Oh. Just like people who with 2 functioning brain cells would not want Pokemon to go back to Generation 1.
I agree with everything you just said. But to go back to the topic of archetypes, I think a big argument I hear from people who say archetypes with creativity is that all decks play the same. Like if you have 2 different Blue Eyes versions, both play the same of those. It's like I think I also hear a lot.
Yeah, well, if they are good cards, why wouldn't you want to play them?
Yeah.
That is just the basic logic of the game. Like,
Luke,
like,
how dare you play a game for winning and not having fun?
Well, I do have fun, but it's fun to win as well. But that's like saying, like, I'm not going to use this heavy armor in an RPG because everyone else is using it. I'm going to use light armor. Okay, the boss requires you to have heavy armor. Crap! And like I said, most people do like a good challenge.
Don't survey to Vex. Vex will kill you for it.
Yeah, Vex will probably kill me for saying that. But also as well to go back to the question of like, is it hard to get into Yu-Gi-Oh? Again, I wouldn't say necessarily, because most of the times, like, you can honestly learn as you play along. That's if you want to read what the cards do, because I know some people are like, I don't want to read when I play a game, but really, if you don't read, you don't know the rules then. So how can you play along?
I think a lot of things you don't need to read to play along nowadays. For example, Pokemon. I'm sorry, but you can, with minimum reading, you can still play Pokemon without a fucking problem.
Yeah.
And I think people also expect that with Yu-Gi-Oh, for example.
But Yu-Gi-Oh is a totally different. Go ahead.
Who came out around the same time. I know you want to say both are different games. One's a video game, the other's a fucking trading card game. But even the old school Yu-Gi-Oh cards were like, yeah, sure you can do. You only need to read like 2 words and that's it. Nowadays you have like giant cards with like 100 words. And before you say anything, I've written it down. 2002, the average word count on Yu-Gi-Oh cards were 22 words. Just last year we had an average word count of 74. More than triple the average
more than
words.
More than triple. But at the same time as well, most of that can be basically chopped down to the summoning requirement and the main effects and secondary effects.
I agree. I don't have a problem with like the word count. The Yu-Gi-Oh language, Yu-Gi-Oh cards are like their own little language. If you like read your 20th card, you are not even thinking about like 10 most of you're not even thinking of half of the words because they're just like self-explanatory.
Yeah, and also if you know like the basic rules of like playing, like you only need to like read the rules once, and then you're like, okay, so the GY is the graveyard, so like since the graveyard, don't need to read the rest of that. Like once you get into the language of Yu-Gi-Oh, it becomes very easy to be like, okay, I can skim through this and know what the card actually does. Yeah, and which is something the Atman really didn't go into in his video. Like he was just saying like, Yu-Gi-Oh, what went wrong with Yu-Gi-Oh? Got too much text, but didn't really take time to say like, well, Yu-Gi-Oh is its own different language, but once you learn the language, which I think is one of the easiest things to do, everything else just kind of like flows into each other. And like I said, there are formats out there that are for beginners. The GOAT format, and in this video, he uses cards to demonstrate how much text are on the words that aren't very good cards to begin with.
Yeah, I think that's a big problem. Many people, like the mainstream, often uses Yu-Gi-Oh is too complicated, it's not fun. And when they use like cards no one uses, even though there are like examples for like this card has way too much text and that you can use without that are even meta relevant. But it's work not everyone is willing to put into.
Yeah, like one of my favorite cards to use, Blue Eyes Chaos Match Dragon, really only boils down to two effects. Like it can't be affected by card effects, and it does piercing battle damage. That's literally when it's set. Literally boiling down like when your card attacks a monster in defense position, you do damage equal to the life point difference. You just in Yu-Gi-Oh language, you just basically go, when you attack a monster in defense position, it does piercing battle damage. That's all you need to know. Oh, and it doubles the piercing battle damage as well.
Yeah, and that's really good. Like you said, I think you said it in a great fucking way. It's an own language. You just boiled this really long ass text into like 2 sentences. That's it.
Yeah, but I feel like with people want that to be done with the cards themselves, but it's never gonna happen with that. Because where's the fun in that? Of just having the simple language.
I think we need a simple language, especially with like the more complicated rules. And Konami is working on it. We are having, like they mentioned a lot of times, they want to simplify the language of Yu-Gi-Oh! And we have problem solving card text just for that reason.
Okay, fair enough.
It's getting better and better.
I guess that's why we've got the graveyard now called the GY.
Yeah, this is just for space. But a good example that you said, it's a non-language. But in the past, they used 10 different ways to say something, even though they mean the same thing. But they use 10 different ways to formulate it. And nowadays, they have simplified it to like one thing. This is always the same sentence structure, the same words we use for this effect. But in the past I didn't have those. And this is like simplifying text. They nowadays do.
Okay, fair enough, fair enough. But one thing I will agree with him on is the way the pendulum era was initially handled.
Pendulum in general was a mistake on Konami's part. They wouldn't defend Pendulum nowadays. I can guarantee it. And it's something that wasn't even really that liked in general by the mainstream.
Yeah, that is something I will agree on. That was the one era I was just like, I really can't deal with this.
I came back during the Pendulum era. I had a break during the whole XYZ era, but the Pendulum era was when I came back. And looking back, it was a fucking terrible era. We had 3 tier 0 decks in that era. Had the whole, starting with Clifford Towers. So we started with having tower monsters. The hand trap era started in that. And really a lot of unfun decks.
Yeah, I'm gonna find a picture of just a pendulum era board.
Yeah, but because special summoning 5 monsters a turn is never a good way to do something.
So
but, to go back to, is Yu-Gi-Oh beginner friendly? Is it easy to go and get into Yu-Gi-Oh? One thing I have to say on that is that we need to think: is it really newbie friendly? Looking at the metas.
Yeah, I've just put it in the DMs now of just how insane a pendulum era board would be.
Yeah, this is one of the easier things I just in the better.
It was the only one I could find.
Yeah, but going back to what I want to say is it really good to get into Yu-Gi-Oh nowadays? Looking back and looking right now at the meta, you start Master Duel. Alright, you play against Tier Elements. Do you have the Tier Elements deck? No, you lose. Is it a good time to get? Is it easy to get into Yu-Gi-Oh if that's the case? I would say no. You would think it's the most complicated Yu-Gi-Oh ever was, and say no, it's not easy. And the same thing I can say for the TCG. You will start with TCG with your deck that you built from your childhood. You graded it up that it is now in the current meta. It's a rogue level, and your opponent just has floodgates turbo the deck as the current meta decks just are, and it's not fun to play. And you will say no, I can't even play the game now. That's because the floodgates won't allow it to me. And I think that's why I would say no, it's not newbie friendly and not easy to learn, as you need to learn how to maneuver around floodgates. You need to learn all the meta decks right now to even have a chance on playing the game. And those are all things that are not the case most often for newer players.
Now that you've said it like that, I can kind of see your point.
Yeah, to play Yu-Gi-Oh, you need to know the whole meta and what each card of your opponent does.
I can definitely see that being an issue now. But personally, for me, I like I've been saying throughout the video, I'd say if you just want to play it casually without having to worry about the meta or anything, and if you just want to grab a group of friends and grab one that's obviously very knowledgeable about Yu-Gi-Oh, get into a call together, game Master Duel, just play some or not even Master Duel, just dueling book, and play some really casual games to kind of get you up to date with everything.
That's also something I wanted. You said it right now. That's something I want to add. We need to look at do you think newer people would rather like to play digitally or physically? I think physically it's way more fun. More people would like to enjoy playing physically.
Yeah, and I would to do more fun physically. It's just nowadays it's like you just got so much going on half the time, that and because my locals are in the city centre, and I'm on the outskirts of my city centre, so I mean having to get go out there at like 5:30, 6:30 in the evening just to play Yu-Gi-Oh. And that's on top of the fact that I might have work as well. So for me, being on here and being like doing the progression series has really helped to keep myself playing the game without having to like have it overrun my life, because that's another thing as well that can be a problem with Yu-Gi-Oh, having it overrun your life.
Yeah, and to go back to the like real life thing, like you said, Yu-Gi-Oh is most fun when you have a chance at winning, and but when it's a fair game and not like you lose 100 games. You like it's more fun when you have a chance at winning. And I think it's also not new. You can't get into Yu-Gi-Oh as the hand trap package, the cards every deck needs alone. The cheap version of it costs already $150.
Yeah.
So the cost of getting into paper play is already way too high for most newbies to even think about starting it.
Yeah, so that's why for newbies, I would say if you've been interested in Yu-Gi-Oh and want to give it a shot without having to spend like £150 on or dollars on a single deck, I'd say do Dueling Book first to really start to really get your start in Yu-Gi-Oh, because you might at the end of the day you might not even like it as a game, and it might not be for you, and then that way you're not wasting your money.
Yeah, but you also need to look at the perspective that they want to learn it on paper play because it's more fun. That's like, for example, maybe how their friends play the game. They want to learn it that way.
Yeah, and to that I say, if that's really what you do, go for it.
Yeah,
there's
but
no stopping.
Then there will be the problem, like you need around $150 for all the hand traps you need for the meta, to play the game in general, not even for the meta. Every deck needs them. When you don't like the game, but now you are $150 already short.
Yeah, well, to that I'd say, well, you were asking for it.
But that's already not newbie friendly. That's the exact problem that we are discussing right now. It's not good. It's not easy to get in if it has such a high pay gap to even start.
That is an issue, and I feel like, yeah, now that you say it that way, that is an issue which Konami really needs to sort out.
And going even further, what if you want to play in your local tournament? What if you want to play the current meta decks? The current deck Kashtira is looking at the price around $800 for the deck, for a current meta deck.
Wow.
And by the way, this is the TCG I have in comparison, because that's a big point I have. This deck costs $50 in the OCG. The same deck, it's still the best deck, but it costs $50, not $800.
Okay.
As Konami is in the TCG is known to bring up the rarity of cards. We have the OCG has common cards that are like this. I have this written here, that are an ultra rare. In the TCG, you get only 2.5 ultras per set, per box. While the OCG they are common.
Yeah, and also as well, when people do pull it and want to sell it, they sell it for a ridiculous price as well.
Yeah. And
so, yeah.
Paper play is not a good way for new starters, but it's the one everybody wants to go through. I think everyone has more fun going playing on paper, but it's not the right way nowadays.
No,
It literally makes it worse.
yeah, it does. So to that, again, I would say only do that if you're absolutely 100% sure and you're not gonna complain about having to dish out money. That is what I'll say. But if you're really just wanting to be like I just want to play this game for fun, don't want to spend money on it, I just want to play it casually, and I don't care what way I play it, I'd say do it online then. Do it online with Dueling Book or Moss Duel.
Yeah, I think Master Duel is a great way to get into Yu-Gi-Oh! For newbies. It has a great way of like explaining the rules with its in its solo mode. But there's a big but that we need to think about Master Duel. That most people don't think about it. It's the OCG rulings. That's also a big point. OCG was playing in Japan or like South Korea, I think it was also part of it. Play on different rules than we do in the TCG.
Yeah, I really think they should have rectified that. Like, depending on which region of the world you're in, you have to abide by the whatever rules you are in that region.
Yeah, and it's not just the rules. The card quality is different. In America, we have terrible card quality. America, Europe. The card backs are different, so even if you have cards from the TCG, you can't use them in the OCG, or vice versa. So even if we combine the rules and combine the metas, half of one meta won't be able to use the cards anymore. They won't be tournament legal at that point anymore.
Yeah,
So
and again, that's another thing as well. Just like the constant rotation out of cards of like, this is legal, this is not legal, this is legal.
This is the ban list. I don't have a problem with ban list. I have a problem that Yu-Gi-Oh! Doesn't have rotation like Magic the Gathering or Pokemon do. For most people who don't know what that means, this is Magic the Gathering and Pokemon both have rotation. So after some time, all the cards that you have are banned, and only the newer cards are allowed. Hearthstone has it as well, if I remember right. And that just helps to lower the price all the time, to like, here's a big reset, and it helps like regulate the power level. As power creep is also a big point in Yu-Gi-Oh! That not, if you have a deck that you got like a year ago, it's unplayable nowadays, just for the power creep alone. Those are all different things we need to look into when asking us, is it good to get into Yu-Gi-Oh! Nowadays? Is it easy to get from newer players into Yu-Gi-Oh! Nowadays?
Yeah, or like, yeah, that's one thing. It is a topic that is fun, that it is really fun to discuss because there are people out there that I would say probably do want to get into Yu-Gi-Oh! But not want to spend about £1,000 on a deck.
Yeah, but if you want to like be competitive viable, you need to spend 1,000.
Yeah, but at the same time, being competitive in Yu-Gi-Oh! isn't the entire game. You can be as casual as you want, and that's another thing that I felt like has kept Yu-Gi-Oh! Around for so many years. I mean, a lot of people like to say like, oh, it's gone too complicated and all of that, but really, it's stuck around for both casuals and competitive people. Like, you don't really have to be like at like the competitive the competitive like level of like the best duelist in the world to really enjoy Yu-Gi-Oh! And so I guess like what I mean, how long have we been going on for now?
I don't know, for about an hour or something.
Yeah, so I guess like we should start wrapping up this video because I feel like we've said all we need to say on the topic. Unless you had any other points you wanted to say.
Too many. I have only a few good points why I like Yu-Gi-Oh! Written, but they are like not necessary to talk about.
Okay, yeah. So I guess my final thoughts on this would be pretty much what I've just said. Like, you don't really. Yeah, I mean, you can if you really want to really get into competitive if you're willing to spend a pretty penny on it. But at the same time, you could just be as casual as you want and enjoy Yu-Gi-Oh just for the sake of enjoying it, and that is perfectly fine. That is perfectly fine in this community, and that's what I've always loved about it. And on that note, that is all I'm going to say on it. So, well, I guess we'll end it here. So until next time.
Yu-Gi-Oh's a terrible game. Don't play it.
No, it isn't.
It's hard to get into. Look at the elements. Look at the video background. It's a hard game. That's everything I have to say. Have fun, take drugs, and stay fresh.
And also keep on dueling.
Don't do that. Dueling is bad.